Hello everyone, and welcome back to Sullivan County 4-H Learn by Doing Beginner Watercolor Series. And this is the last episode for this series for this season. So I thought that we would end on an oceanscape. We haven't done one of those yet. This one is definitely an intro to ocean. We're not going to do any kind of waves or anything like that, but I'm going to show you some techniques on how to get a nice shine on the water and how to add depth to the water. And then we're going to work on a little bit of beach landscape and some beach grasses. So a lot of the techniques that you'll see here we kind of have gone over before as far as creating depth in a landscape, like in the sand dunes and also in the sky. So we might fast forward through some of those techniques, but then I'll be sure to show you the water technique. So as usual, I'm going to start with wetting my sky. And our sky for this one is going to be very simple, but you can do whatever you want with your sky. And just remember, there's no such thing as a wrong sky or a bad sky. Okay, now we're going to dry this. Okay, so now we're going to use a square brush, and for the water here, that's what we're going to do next. We are going to use a technique that's called dry brush. So we're going to mix up the color that we want the water to be, and then we're going to try to be perfectly straight, especially at the top, and we're going to go right across. And we're going to let the brush kind of fade in color, like that. And I'm going to go this direction too. Put a little bit of color back on and let it fade. And the point of this technique, you just kind of keep doing this until you're happy with it. You go to the next one. You go straight, let it fade. The point of this technique is to get a little bit of sparkle on the water, just like when the sun reflects off of it. And you can use this for lakes, you can use it even for snow in the winter time. If you put a light color on it or a light shadow on it, it works for that too. You don't have to have it as big as I do. You can have it a little smaller. You just try to blend the layers together a little bit. As it gets closer to you, you can have them become a little less or a little more, whichever way you think it looks best depth-wise to your piece. then what I do is I go very slightly and very carefully back on top. With some darks. Just to really add some depth to the painting. But this is an instance where you have your brush pretty dry for this effect. Like that. Alright, now the next step that we're going to work on is the sand. But first, I'm just going to clean up this edge a little bit. Whenever you do that, just be really careful to blend it all together so you don't leave any hard lines. We're going to do this sand over here, and it's going to go up above our horizon a little bit and then come back down, and the sand is going to be blending of really light browns that have been very watered down, and maybe some Payne's Gray in there, just a few spots of some greens for some texture as well. But all the colors that we use for the sand are going to be pretty diluted. And keep in mind where you want your sun to be from as far as direction to add some additional depth to your piece. Right now I'm just going through and marking kind of where I want some of that depth to be, and then I'm going to fill in after that. So that is the foregrounds for our sand, and now we're going to dry this also, and then we're going to come back on top of it for the grass and some other details. Okay, now we're going to work on the grass. So we're going to mix up a nice dark green. We're going to use our nice skinny brush. And beach grass is kind of like really kind of wild. It gets wind whipped a lot, so it bends kind of every direction. It's definitely not perfectly straight. It's kind of wiry too. If you've ever seen it or touched it in person, it's kind of coarse and almost feels like it has a hollow inside, which makes it super flexible in the wind. But it's a very kind of wild grass. And just to add some depth to it, we're going to also put in some brown pieces in there. Would like, you can also add in, make a nice tall stem, and you can add in just some like seed heads on them. Nothing like too big. Just kind of gives it a different texture. Okay, and right about here, I'm going to add in just one more element, and I'm going to put in a rock. I'm going to add a little bit of Payne's Gray to this rock. It's going to be kind of sticking out one of the dune sides. And then I'll come back on top of it with some darks, like that. And then I'm going to turn my brush around like we've done before and just kind of scrape out some of those highlights on them. It gives a little texture again and a little bit of definition. we have our rock in place, I'm just going to put some grass behind it, just to kind of anchor it into the landscape. So that is pretty much it with our landscape. We have our nice quiet sky, we have a good smooth water with that light reflecting, we have some interest with the grass, which you could go on top of and add more darks to it to give it even more depth, and we have a little bit of interest in our foreground. So I'll give you a close-up on this. And there you have it, our seascape is finished. So today we worked on that dry brush technique, as well as doing a little bit more grass and some more skies, more simplistic sky, and adding some depth in sand. So I hope that you have enjoyed this series. We've gone over pine trees, deciduous trees, rocks, how to do fog, how to add depth to a landscape, how to do highlights and shading, and some flowers, and a few other techniques. So I hope that you have found this series helpful. And for more information about Sullivan County 4-H, visit Cornell Cooperative Extension, Sullivan County, link below. And also be sure to check out Cornell Cooperative Extension, Sullivan County Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. And as always, happy painting.